Hello and welcome everybody to another Payara webinar. And today we will be talking about Payara Qube. So we are here with Louise Castens, Head of Product at Payara, and Luqman Saeed, our Technical Product Marketer, who will give you a brief overview of Payara Qube and also a Payara Qube demo. So I am really happy to see everyone here today. We have a couple of people joining us still. So as usual, we'll give it another minute or two just to make sure that everyone is here, that everyone is settled and ready to watch the presentation and the demo. And again, as usual, especially for those of you who are not, who haven't been to any of our webinars before, we are always keen for you to get involved. So we do want you to, if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. There's the chat option. There's also a Q&A, dedicated Q&A option. You can use either one of those. We will be monitoring both during the presentation. We will get to your questions at the end, though, so please post them whenever you think of your questions, and we will definitely save them for the Q&A session at the very end. And we are also recording this presentation, so if you do need to drop off early, or if you want to revisit anything that we are showing you today, or if you want to share it with any of your colleagues, the recording will be available pretty much immediately using the same link. Okay, so I'm just checking. People are still joining. So we'll wait until 3 minutes past, and I think we will be ready to start. I will be sharing some links as well during the presentation, so do keep an eye on the chat. And again, if you have any questions, or if you see a question that you can actually answer, please do. Again, we are very much encouraging the discussion and conversation from the audience as well. So feel free to use the chat for that. Okay, so I think we are ready to begin. So without further ado, I will leave you in the hands of Louise and Luqman, starting with Louise, our Head of Product. So over to you, Louise.
Thank you, Dominika. And thanks everyone for joining us today. So as Dominika mentioned, we're talking to you today about Payara Qube, specifically how we help with zero Kubernetes setup for your Java deployments. So we'll start with a little bit about Kubernetes itself, for those of you who may not know a lot about it. And then we'll go into how Payara Qube helps with containerization, because obviously you can't really talk about Kubernetes without talking about containerization, and then how we simplify Kubernetes in different ways in Payara Qube. And then Luqman, who is our technical product marketer, as well as a Java developer himself, he will show you the product live in action. So yes, questions are welcome. Please put them in the chat. We'll try to respond as we go, and if not, we'll answer them at the end. So I'll start just giving you a little bit of information about Kubernetes overall, some interesting facts from at today's date, and some market trends as well. So Kubernetes itself has a very large active open source community. It's used by all the major cloud vendors. It's very popular amongst developers. And so much so that it completely dominates the container orchestration market currently. So amongst surveys, that there's a lot of different surveys with information out there. The enterprise adoption is at 60% currently for container orchestration platforms. And overall in the market of all surveyed developers, the adoption range is between 96 to 98%. So definitely the platform of choice when you're trying to manage your containers. The market itself is already at 2.5 billion, and that's growing at least 20% annually. So again, a massive market in terms of the funding behind it, which means it's also developing as a product very quickly, and especially because of the open source aspect of it, it is advancing very rapidly. So the current user base is some 5.6 million developers already. Most of those are US based, with some 52% US based developers. But as cloud native deployments and containerization expand in the rest of the world, Europe and Asia Pacific are very quickly catching up to that usage base. In terms of trends, again, because it is so actively used in the market and it has a lot of different applications, there's some very key trends that we can talk about. One, I think, which is the most common at the moment, is what we're calling Kubernetes AI. And that is because AI and machine learning models are very typically deployed in containers. And it is a very typical scenario that advanced workloads like these AI ML models are actually deployed using managed Kubernetes systems. So that is definitely driving the market at the moment, and it is one of the key adoption areas for Kubernetes for container orchestration. You've also got more and more companies that are using Kubernetes to manage edge devices and their IoT infrastructure, using lightweight distributions. And then you've the multi-cluster, multi-cloud aspect is also growing, continuously, because as organizations, for the sake of scalability or security, et cetera, use more and more cloud services. Globally, they do tend to use multi-cloud aspects of Kubernetes, and the multi-cluster aspect because of the management in the platform. Because of the adoption, especially around small and medium businesses, there is a surge for managed Kubernetes solutions, because it is a very complex system to use. And it takes a lot of time, both in setting up and in managing it. There is a tendency now to look for solutions that simplify that experience, to interact with it, to remove some of the complexities. And that's some of the aspects that we've done in Payara Qube as well, to simplify Kubernetes. And as adoption grows, obviously security and compliance is very important to support policy automation, or be able to integrate with other security solutions, which is also an important aspect for containerization itself. And obviously they're looking for Kubernetes to support that too. And finally, again, as we go into a more cloud native tendency in modern application delivery, cloud migration using Kubernetes clusters is a very common thing. And that is, also, again, part of why we're using it in Payara Qube, which I'll explain in a minute. So some of the benefits, actually, Kubernetes is fantastic technology in a lot of respects, especially for enterprise deployments, because it simplifies, automates, and it optimizes your deployments, especially if you're using modern containerized applications. So again, containerization as such has a lot of benefits. It does help with cost optimization, portability, and performance. But if you're not using an orchestration platform like Kubernetes to manage those containers, then you don't actually see any of those benefits. So they really do go hand in hand. And that means that when you're using Kubernetes as an orchestration platform, you do see that you can respond very quickly to changes in the market. You can release features very quickly. You can also lower costs because of that better resource management and the scalability aspect of it. And it also means that you can maintain robust performance. So some of the ways that Kubernetes helps, for example, is that it helps with scalability and high availability, because it automatically scales applications up or down based on your demand, and distributes according to your demand in traffic spikes. It also has automatic monitoring of your applications, which means that it automatically restarts filled containers. It replaces any unresponsive ones. And that distributed traffic aspect just means that you've got maximize uptime, and you've got minimal service disruption. So that really is one of the major benefits of using Kubernetes for your application reliability. The other part is, of course, we all care about cost optimization and resource efficiency. We obviously, don't have infinite development and DevOps resources in most companies, and we would like them to work as efficiently as possible. And the great thing about Kubernetes is that it dynamically allocates resources. It packs your containers efficiently into different servers to reduce your operational overhead. And it also has that automated scaling and scheduling, which means that with all the automation, you don't have to have as much human intervention in there. So for your dev and DevOps teams, all that manual day-to-day activity really is just abstracted away. You've got fast deployment and automation. So because it streamlines the whole deployment process, it helps with updates. Those are also automated. And you've got integration directly with your CI/CD pipelines, which means that you can, your time to market is much reduced with your application deployments. And it also allows rolling changes. So if you want to do new features, and you want to make sure that your new deployments are error-free, it really does help in that respect too. And then, of course, the whole portability and the multi-cloud aspect, because it scales your workloads across different cloud providers, whether that's different cloud vendors or hybrid models where you have public and private cloud, or maybe on-premise as well. It just helps you, deploy to those different environments much more easily. It also prevents vendor lock-in, so you have much more flexibility, in terms of your deployment options. And all those aspects really is, why Kubernetes is such a very popular choice with companies and developers. And that's also basically how we got to using it in Payara Qube, because we'll talk about what the application does in a minute. But as we do Java deployments, and we support containerized applications, we were looking for the best container orchestration platform, and obviously Kubernetes was a very logical choice. So let's just go into a little bit about how Payara Qube is aligned to Payara's product vision. For those of you who are not familiar with Payara and its history, the whole reason for our existence is basically in response to customer needs. So we were founded when Glassfish stopped supporting their application server platform. We created the first Payara platform release to help support those customers, basically. And then 2 years later, we found out that those customers needed support services, so we created Payara Services. And really, our products and our services have really evolved to respond to customer needs and market trends since then. And Payara Qube really is just the latest in that series of evolution, basically. So the other parts that Qube is very loyal to is, this came originally from the Jakarta EE ethos, where you separate your application from your runtime and your environment. So we like having that in all our products. We just want our customers to focus on writing their application, and that we take care of absolutely everything else around it. And we also care about that portability, that you write your application once and that you can actually deploy it to any of our Payara products, regardless of what specific deployment use case you might have. So we support everything from IoT and edge deployments through virtualization to now Qube, which supports Kubernetes and cloud deployments. So let's have a little look at what's in Qube. We basically focused on your three day-to-day operations, basically, of dev and DevOps teams, and that's uploading your application, deploying it, and running it. So when you upload, we currently support Jakarta EE, Spring Boot, and Quarkus Java applications. We will be expanding that, into more Java application frameworks in future. So that gives you the flexibility that whether you're using legacy applications, which may be written in Jakarta EE, or whether you're creating your new applications in Spring Boot, you have one solution that can support all of them. Then as you upload to Payara Qube, that's where some of the magic starts, your application is automatically containerized. So that's where you already start seeing benefits. And I'll explain how that happens, but it really does happen in a minute. And when we get around to Luqman's demo, you can see how quickly that happens. Then we have one-click deployment. So we've automated the whole process, completely streamlined and consistent across different environments. And when you're actually deploying, we also create a dedicated Kubernetes cluster for you automatically. And again, that happens very quickly, as you'll see later. And then when you're finally running your application, because of course performance and optimization is very important, we have a built-in monitoring dashboard, which helps you keep track of both your application performance as well as the performance of your clusters, so that you can, adjust and maximize the performance of each of those. And all of that is wrapped up in a very easy to use web management console, which we also have very fine-grained application and access management rules for, so that you can configure that whatever your organization needs. So what's the primary purpose of Qube? Well, we really wanted to just simplify, standardize, and do very fast Java deployments. And that was a pain point that our customers came to, with multiple different frameworks and all the operational overhead. They just really want to deploy their applications easily and get the benefits of, containerization and Kubernetes. So what we've done is we've automated everything we can, all the way from, you just have to upload your WAR file, so your broad profile application, and then you can deploy it to production in minutes. And while we're doing that, we've automated containerization, as I said, and we've also automated the Kubernetes setup. So if you see on the right-hand side here, you've got like 11 steps that typically are involved in setting up your Kubernetes cluster, configuring it, configuring monitoring, deploying your application there, etc. So we've taken all those manual handling steps, as they are so repeatable and you don't actually need to be involved in all of them, and we've abstracted those away. And so what we've left for you now is just the configuration and the actual deployment. So you have control of how you want to configure your Kubernetes cluster and your deployment, and simply deploy. And then another fantastic aspect of it is the team has spent months making sure that behavior is consistent whatever Java framework you're using, because normally different application frameworks will require different configuration steps, and there's a lot of time that goes into that. And not only that, but no matter what cloud provider you deploy to, we also have that same consistent behavior. And if any of you have ever had to set up AWS cloud deployments, then you'll appreciate how much time we've saved you by just automating that process completely as well. So that means you now have the same consistent experience, whatever framework, whatever environment, whatever cloud vendor you decide to deploy to. So a little bit of a look behind the scenes. So this is a slightly abstract architecture diagram, but it probably will help clarify about how the application functions, at least to some degree. So this is an example of deploying on different AWS regions. So we've decided to use Keycloak as an external authentication provider, and that's just to give our customers, great flexibility in how they want to authenticate into Qube. And then in Qube itself, for example, we have the application management aspect. You've got your top-level redirector and your backplane DNS controller. That's the only thing we actually have in Qube. And then every time you deploy, these are different pods, we call them, that you deploy to. You have you deploy to a particular cloud vendor and a particular region. And you can do that as often to different cloud vendors or different regions as you like. And as you deploy, your application provisioning controller sets up your Kubernetes cluster automatically. So that you see at the bottom of your pod, you've got that dedicated Kubernetes cluster. And that cluster you can configure for your specific cloud vendor and your specific region. And you can do that in as many namespaces. So your namespace will have that same setup. And that you can configure as you need for your particular deployment. In there, we also do certification management. So SSL certificates are a headache quite often. We've automated that as well. We've got your DNS controller. We do ingress through Trafic. And then all those different pods or deployments feed into the application gateway, your blob storage, and your storage log analytics, just so that it makes it very easy for you to centrally manage all of that. So, so your clusters, your Kubernetes clusters for AWS are obviously on AKS. For Azure, they would be on the Azure Kubernetes model. So when I said, of course, when you upload your application, we automatically containerize it. Now, normally, if you do that process, that's one of the most involved processes in development, where you have to break down your monolithic application into smaller composable architecture. That is something that typically can take, at least a couple of weeks if you've got a simple application, a lot longer if you have a more complex or bigger application. And usually it involves some 7 steps, and it does take a lot of time. People quite often underestimate the amount of work that goes into breaking down your monolithic application into a container. And that's why a lot of companies struggle to do it or resist doing it. We have other Payara tools that will literally do that for you, so help you decompose your architecture. But if you want to just shortcut there and basically get the benefits of containerization and have your application behave like a container, we can achieve that through Payara Qube much faster. So what we've basically done is we detect your application as it is when you upload it, and we match it to a container template. And from there, it basically starts behaving exactly like a containerized application. So you get all the benefits, but you achieve it literally in minutes without the complexity, without any special skills needed, and obviously much, much faster. And because of that, if you're talking best case to worst case scenario, where a small application might be quite fast to containerize, but a bigger one can take as much as 2,000 hours of development to containerize, we're saving you on average about 1,100 development work hours. And that translates into, your typical benchmark senior engineer salary to some $82,500 just in development costs for containerizing your application. And not just that, but on a monthly basis, we also help with some cost savings, because we help with your resource optimization through Kubernetes. We help with auto scaling, which means we make sure there's no wastage in your infrastructure. That means you reduce your storage costs, and also all the operational inefficiency that's typically associated with it is removed. And there's no additional licensing and support costs either, because all of that's included in Qube itself. Similarly, when you're talking about Kubernetes, we've done that same abstraction. So remember, I said there's some 11 steps typically to set up your application. For an experienced Kubernetes expert, because typically it's not something that any senior engineer can do, that definitely takes at least several days to set up. So we've saved you all that effort again by automating the process. And it, again, is literally just one step in the entire flow of Payara Qube. So it's the act of actually deploying your application that we've automated those steps into. So again, best case, worst case scenario, on average, you're talking about some 1,100 development hours saved. Again, a similar cost savings in terms of development cost. And again, we do save monthly costs, slightly less so with Kubernetes, because it just has a lot of other additional costs. But we do optimize your resources, which means your resource costs go down. We do a lot on auto scaling, and obviously we reduce storage. And just generally, because the processes are also automated, then your general overhead and maintenance costs are also reduced. While all of that's already fantastic, there is also more that Qube does for Kubernetes simplification. So all of these 11 things, and I won't go into all of them in detail, but all of these 11 things, once you're actually using Kubernetes on Qube, we've also simplified. So I'll just pick a few to explain them. But cluster provisioning and node management, for example, is a really big one. So we've automated that across AWS, so EKS and Azure AKS, with optimated configurations, especially for Java workloads. And this is the only solution on the market that is specifically Java dedicated. And we select node types, we configure auto-scaling, we manage your node life cycles for you with automated patching and upgrades and replacing failed instances. So all of that typically has a lot of maintenance overhead and configuration overhead, and that's all managed in Qube. We also help with version management and upgrades. So we've automated all of that. So you have actually, zero maintenance once you've started using Qube as well. Some other things, like I mentioned, SSL certificate provisioning can be a bit of a headache for our customers. So we have complete DNS automation through an external integration with all the different cloud vendors. We automatically generate those SSL certificates through provisioning and renewal, and you can even use them on custom domains. And another savings, for example, is, like I said, it takes a while to set up your monitoring of Kubernetes clusters. We've got that completely built into Payara Qube already. You have your Kubernetes metrics, your log metrics, your HTTP request metrics, and a log search, and intelligent alerts as well to help you with managing your clusters and deployments. And then we'll just go to the last point, for example, disaster recovery and backup orchestration, which is very important both for containerized applications as well as for Kubernetes. We've got a very comprehensive disaster recovery capability in Qube, where we have configuration backups, we have persistent volume snapshots, cluster preservation, and automated cross-region failovers. So that means that your enterprise deployments are especially stable and reliable. So what does that mean? It means you can deploy consistently across any of your environments, because again, this behavior is exactly the same whether you're deploying to dev, whether you're deploying to staging or to production. So there's no surprises in your development pipeline. Again, the same consistent behavior and reliability, whatever Java framework you're using. So same experience whether you're doing Jakarta EE or Spring Boot. And then again, the same consistent experience whether you're deploying to any different cloud vendor or whether you're deploying on-premise. And that means stable releases and maximized uptime, of course. So all these time savings that we do in your operational overhead, in getting to modernizing your applications, in just your day-to-day work automation, obviously means that you can dedicate that time to something else. So we accelerate the time to market of your applications, which means you can release features more quickly, you can do updates of your applications more quickly, and that's obviously very beneficial to any business. We also help with cost savings, which in today's context is obviously very important. So we save you development costs, we save you overhead, we save you resource costs with your cluster management and your storage costs. And finally, any time that your dev team and your DevOps team aren't spending on just overhead and day-to-day operations, they can obviously innovate. So they can do what they like doing best, which is writing code, creating new applications, and innovating for your company. And just finally, cherry on the cake, while we do a lot of other things in Payara Qube, one of the recent collaborations we have is we partnered with Azul on their Azul Platform Prime. So we've just recently announced this partnership. And what's great is when you deploy to the Azul Prime JVM, your application code of your application actually gets optimized as well automatically in the background. And you also get improved startup times through their Azul Ready Now capabilities. And this is just the beginning of our collaboration. There's a lot of other great things that we're putting into the platform to, again, optimize your Java performance. So that's everything I have for you today. I'm sure you're kicking to see it in action. So, please reach out if you want any more information about the platform or a trial. And I'll now hand it over to Luqman so he can do his demonstration.
Yes, thank you very much, Luis, for the in-depth background to the product. So I'll share my screen here. And then, yes, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, always looking good, Luqman.
Good. Okay, so I have a sample Spring application here that we are going to deploy. And one of the points Luis raised was that we built Payara Qube to incorporate the ethos of enterprise Java, where the runtime is separated from your application so that you can delegate the problem of managing runtime to people who know the runtime. And then you can focus on your product or application so you can deliver value faster to customers. So I have a Spring application here, and I need to deploy it. It's a Spring, everybody's doing AI, so why not AI? I have this brilliant idea to build an AI application that will revolutionize entertainment. So I need to deploy this application. Now let's go into our console here. So this is the product console. This is Payara Qube console or dashboard, as you would want to call it. And as you can see, we worked hard to make it as simple as it can be. As the famous adage goes, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. We built all the sophistication behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about that. So we give you a very straightforward, simple user interface that will allow you to be able to use the product as fast as possible, get comfortable with it as fast as possible. So let's see. Now let's create a namespace here. And those namespace we are creating will get mapped directly to a Kubernetes namespace on the underlying cluster on which this particular product instance is running. So let's create the namespace here. Let's call this string demo. Then let's give it a page. So this is our dev page here. And then let's create our namespace here. So now we have a namespace mapped directly to the underlying Kubernetes cluster. So let's upload our Spring application here. Let's come here and then upload our application here. So as you can see, the application being uploaded is a jar file here. So let's upload it. Then we can give it a name here. We can call it string demo like this, and then upload the application. Now, what I am doing here is literally taking my application. That is all I'm doing, just the binary, and giving it to Payara Qube to do its magic. Because, of course, it's a web application, and I want to have it out there as fast as possible. I want to have a faster turnaround time so I can iterate and then see what works with my potential users. So the application is now uploaded. Now, as you can see up here, it says the status of the application is pending, and the URL says there's no URL yet. Now, we'll see what all these are, but enough of the talk. Let's go to configure the application here. So this configuration page here gives you the option to configure any properties that your application needs. Now, if I come back to the IDE, these properties are from the application.properties file. This is the standard properties file that Spring gives you to be able to pass properties to your application. So these properties here are exposed on those very shiny UIs here so that you can make changes to it. An example is this OpenAI key here. This is a secret that I would want to pass only in the environment where the application is running. So in this example, I can remove this and then pass in my sample key here, and then save this here. Now I've configured the application and everything should be ready. So let me deploy the application here. Now behind the scenes, a pod is being created to be deployed into the namespace that we created. So if you are used to Kubernetes, all the Kubernetes constructs that you are used to are what we have abstracted into this product here. So as you can see, the product is the application is ready and deployed here. Now you can see the status here is deployed and it says it's running. So let's do this. So sometimes it's so fast that the DNS resolve takes time. The DNS takes time to resolve. So in a few minutes, if I refresh this, you would see that it's deployed for you to be able to play with. So you can see here the URL here is set and everything with this application is working. Now let's go back to the namespace and then upload another application. This time around, let's upload a Jakarta EE application. I have a sample pre-built here. And here, this is a WAR file. So you can see the first binary here is a .jar file, which is string. And this is a .war file, which is a Jakarta EE application. So let me upload this. Let me call this JEE sample. And then let's upload this here. So now, the same UI, the same namespace, without me changing anything, I'm going to deploy the Jakarta EE version. So let's deploy this. Now you can also do the same configuration and everything that we did for the Spring application. You can do the same thing here. Now you can see behind the scenes, there is a lot of, okay, never mind. So now it's deployed here and it's ready for you to use. So as you can see, it's the same application, the same products, the same UI. I didn't change anything. I'm able to deploy a Spring application. I'm able to deploy a Jakarta application with the same UI and everything. Now, you might be wondering, in production, of course, you might not be doing this manually. We also have a command line interface, a CLI tool that you can use to incorporate Payara Qube in an automated context into your build pipeline. So you can use our CLI tool to do all that we've done here. And everything we've done on the UI, you can do through the CLI to pass in different properties that the application needs and everything. Build your own GitHub workflows and everything so that when you push to a specific branch, it gets deployed to a specific namespace in your Payara Qube installation. So pretty much everything we are doing here can be incorporated into your workflow through our CLI, our CLI that you can use to run this particular Payara Qube product from your pipeline. So it's a sort of drop-in replacement for your deployment. And this pretty much is the interface to all the complexities that Louise showed you that we are abstracting you away from. Now, it's an understatement to say how much time this saves you. As you can see, we didn't need to do anything. We have a URL ready to use and everything for our product deployed and everything ready to share with our potential customers. And this is very revolutionary. There is no other product out there that allows you to deploy different frameworks, the same UI without changing anything, without needing to do any plumbing. And this is the essence of enterprise Java, where the runtime is separated from your application. The wisdom behind that was that you are focused on your application so you can turn around faster to deliver value to your customers. Unfortunately, our industry got to a point where instead of delivering value, our customers were doing a lot of plumbing, infrastructure plumbing. And so we sat back and then developed this particular product to meet our customers halfway, to give them the particular abstraction they need to be able to focus more on their business domain. And so this is Payara Qube, and this is the simplest interface, as you can see, to all the complexities that Louise showed in her slide. Dominica, do you have any questions?
No questions at the moment, no.
Okay. Louise, one question I got asked on LinkedIn was that if a user wants to test this and they don't have or they are not ready to install this on their own infrastructure, do we have a hosted version that they can use to trial this to just get a taste of it?
Yeah, we do, Luqman. Thanks for your question. That's a very good question. So if somebody doesn't want to go through the process of installing this, which they obviously can on their infrastructure, there is an easy way to trial it. So we have a hosted service which has the same basic feature set, and there's a 15-day free trial that you can go into, and it will behave pretty much the same way. Obviously, you don't have to go through the whole installation process. And there's a couple of components in that which are related to doing a consumption-based model, which is slightly different from our installable product. But But yes, they can go into our hosted solution without having to set anything up, and they can trial it for 15 days for free.
Nice. Okay, so there you have it. You can pretty much take it for a spin and then see for yourself, because a lot of the time, as a developer myself, the sheer amount of time we spend in building infrastructure is almost unbelievable. 10 years ago, nobody would believe we would be spending this much time building infrastructure. And so we are trying to help people get back to the days where companies focus on delivering business value instead of venturing into building infrastructure. That is not their core strength and their core domain. And that is why we have this photo. So like Louise said, you are welcome to take this for a spin. Just go to Payara.cloud and then take this for a spin for yourself. And always, we are always open to feedback. Let us know what you think about it so we can make it better to serve you well. Okay, back to you, Louise and Dominica.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, both Louise and Luqman. So in the absence of questions, of course, if you do have any questions beyond this presentation, beyond this webinar, you can find us on LinkedIn, like Luqman mentioned, because someone already asked some questions there, but you can find us on via our website. So we've got contact form. You can message us, you can email us at info@payara.fish, or just find us in one of the social media channels. And find out more. But also I wanted to share with you the event that we are organizing. So actually the event season is starting now. For those of you who are aware how the Java ecosystem and Java community works, there's going to be a lot of events that we actually will be attending. So it would be great if any of you are there. You can come to our booth or you can come to our talks and see us. So the nearest event that we are organizing is actually in Frankfurt in Germany. So I've just shared the link to the page. So if this is something that you would be interested in, it's on the 18th and 19th, or actually on the 19th is the actual event, and pre-meeting is on the 18th. So have a look, see if you are around, if you are based locally, that could be a great opportunity. It's a free event, but you would be able to meet the team. Louise and Luqman will be there, as well as other members of Payara team and some of our customers as well. So that could be a great opportunity to find out more about Payara Qube, but not only, about other Payara platform solutions. So that's the nearest event. But then we are also at DevOps Belgium at the beginning of October. So that's first week of October. We will be again showcasing Payara Qube as well as other Payara platform functionalities, Payara products, and we will be there to answer any of your questions. We also have a conference talk with Patrick from our engineering team. And Luqman, you are going to another conference in Poland, I think, in October.
Yes, JDD Poland in October, yeah.
JDD, that's right. That's 21st and 22nd of October. So again, if you are there, it's in Krakow, beautiful city. Obviously, I'm biased because I am from Poland. But if you are around, Luqman will be there. He will be doing a talk and a demo. So that would be great if you could join him there. And we will also be at WJAX conference in Munich in Germany. Again, that's at the beginning of November. 3rd and 7th. So if you are around for any of those events, please do come and visit us. And I can see that Luqman has just shared the demo.
Yes, the demo, the domain now resolved, so we can just open it and take a look at it. So it's so fast that the application deploys before the domain gets to resolve and propagate, especially as I'm a bit far away from Europe. The domain takes time to resolve. So it's now resolved and you can take it first.
Great. Thanks very much, Luqman. And if you want to keep updated with all of the news, all of the new features, new releases, and all of the resources, because we do share a lot of free resources about Payara, Java, Jakarta EE, please subscribe to our blog. That's the easiest way. So blog.payara.fish. Okay, so I think we are finished for the day. It looks like it, in the absence of questions. So thank you very much again, Louise and Luqman. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Please do share this webinar recording with anyone that you think will find it useful. And I hope to see you again at one of our future events. Thank you very much and see you later.